Welcome back, Cloud Builders. We have officially made it to day 10 of our AWS Builder Challenge. Today, we are talking about the absolute backbone of AWS, the service that almost every single AWS architecture relies on in one way or another. I'm talking about Amazon S3. Whether you're hosting a static website, building a massive enterprise data lake, or just backing up your application logs, S3 is everywhere. By the end of this video, you are going to be an S3 master and you will have a major chunk of domain 3 for the cloud practitioner exam completely locked down. So let's dive right in. S3 stands for Simple Storage Service, and its core promise is right in the name. It allows you to store and retrieve any amount of data at any time from anywhere on the web. But here's the most mind blowing fact about S3, and you must absolutely memorize this for the exam. It offers 11 nines of durability, that is 99.999, total of 11 nines. Now pay close attention here because AWS exam loves to trick people on this. Durability means your data simply won't get lost. With 11 nines of durability, if you stored 10 million objects on S3, you might lose one single object every 10,000 years. It is virtually indestructible. Why? Because the moment you upload a file, AWS automatically replicates your data across a minimum of three distinct availability zones behind the scenes completely seamlessly. Do not confuse do not confuse durability with availability. Do not confuse durability with availability. Durability means your data is safe and exists. Availability means the system is up and you can access it right this second, which for S3 standard is 99.99%. Now let's break down how S3 actually works under the hood. Unlike the hard drive on your laptop, S3 is object storage. You don't have a traditional file system, instead, everything revolves around two main concepts: buckets and objects. Think of bucket as a massive limitless root level container, or simply saying like a giant online warehouse. The bucket is a warehouse and every file inside is an object with its own label. But there is a massive catch for the exam, that your bucket name must be globally unique. Just like a website domain name, once you take an S3 bucket name like my awesome app data, nobody else in the entire world across any AWS account can use it. Why? Because every bucket gets its own unique public web URL. Inside these buckets, we put objects. An object is simply your file like a 4K video or a CSV file or a photo combined with a metadata, which is data about the data like content type or tags you assign to it. Here are the critical limits you should know about S3. An individual object can anywhere be from 0 bytes to up to 5 TB in size. But a single bucket can hold unlimited number of objects. You never have to provision capacity in advance. Also, S3 doesn't actually have folders. Like you might see a slash in a file path like folders, photos slash profile slash avatar.jpg, but that long entire path is just the object's name, which AWS calls it a key. S3 has a flat namespace. It just simulates a folder structure in the console to make it easier for our human brains to read. Alright, grab your notebooks and start this section. This slide right here is guaranteed to get you 2 to 3 points on your cloud practitioner exam. Not all data created is equal. You shouldn't pay premium prices to store 10-year-old text document that you never look at. AWS gives you different storage classes to optimize your costs. So let's walk down the cost ladder. The first one is S3 standard. This is the default. It's for active, frequently accessed data like assets for busy websites. It has the most expensive storage cost, but retrieving data is free and lightning fast. The next one is standard IA, that is infrequent access. Think of this as your monthly data like last month report. It's cheaper to store than standard, but AWS charges you a small per GB fee every time you retrieve it. There is a 30-day minimum storage duration charge here. The next one is one zone IA. This is exactly like standard IA but stored in only one availability zone. If that specific agent experiences a disaster, your data is gone forever. Only use this for data you can easily recreate or like generated image thumbnails or like that. The next one is Glacier family, archives. Remember these three together. Glacier is for long term archiving. We have Glacier instant retrieval, Glacier flexible retrieval, and Glacier deep archive. The first one is Glacier instant retrieval. Millisecond access but higher retrieval cost. Great for medical imagery that is rarely viewed but needed immediately when requested. Another one is Glacier flexible retrieval. It takes minutes to hour to get your data back, but storage is incredibly cheap. The next one is Glacier Deep Archive, the absolute cheapest storage in all the AWS, used for storing 7 to 10 year compliance record, but it takes 12 hours or more to restore your data. And another important thing, that is intelligent tiering. Don't know your access pattern? Turn this on. AWS charges a small monitoring fee, uses machine learning to watch your data and automatically moves it between these tiers to save you money without any retrieval fees. It's an automatic financial advisor for your storage. Now let's discuss about S3 access control. Security is job zero at AWS. By default, when you create an S3 bucket, it is completely private. Nobody on the internet can see your files. AWS has massive safety shield called block public access. It is a 4 switch setting that prevents accidental data leaks by overriding any other public permissions. Unless you are intentionally building a public website, always keep this enabled. If you do want to share data securely, you have options like bucket policies. Bucket policies are JSON documents applied to the whole bucket. They define exactly who can do what. For example, if you write a policy to grant cross account access to a partner company or allow public read access to only a specific images folder, that is where bucket policies are used. Another one is pre-signed URLs. This is the major exam topic. Imagine you have a private bucket, but you want to let a paying customer download a secure PDF. You can generate a pre-signed URL, a temporary VIP pass valid for anywhere from 1 minute to 7 days. Once the time expires, the link self-destructs and the file is secure again. Note that AWS recommends ignoring the legacy ACLs and using bucket owner enforce mode. Note that AWS recommends ignoring the legacy ACL, that is access control lists, and using bucket owner enforce mode for modern security, which basically says my bucket, my rules. So, have you ever accidentally saved over a critical file or deleted something you shouldn't have? In S3, we use versioning as our ultimate control plus Z. When you enable versioning, the S3 keeps a full history of every change. If you upload a new file with the same name, S3 keeps the old one. And if you delete a file, S3 doesn't actually destroy it, it just puts a delete marker on the top of it. You can simply remove that marker and boom, your file is back. Just remember, you have to enable versioning before a mistake happens. Next, we have lifecycle rules. Remember those storage classes? Lifecycle rules are how we automate moving data between them. You can always tell AWS keep my files in standard for 30 days, then transition them into the standard IA, and after 90 days archive them in Glacier, and after 365 days permanently delete them. It's a completely hands-off way to slash your AWS bill. Now let's talk about replication. Important one, CRR, cross region replication. It copies data from one region to another, like Mumbai to London for disaster recovery. The another one is SRR, that is same region replication. It copies data within the same region, usually to a different AWS account for log aggregation. Remember this exam fact: to use any replication in S3, versioning must be enabled on both the source and the destination buckets. If you want to pass the exam, you need to know exactly when to use S3 versus EBS vs EFS. S3. The S3 access model is accessible via URLs and scale unlimited objects up to 5 TB each, and the performance is high throughput for large object. It has a good performance and used for website assets, backups, data lakes, ML datasets and media files. Talking about EBS, that is Elastic Block Storage, it is attached to one EC2 instance at a time. We have read about this in the previous video as well. This is AZ specific and fixed volume size. It has high IOPS and fast random IO. It is used for EC2 boot volumes, database storage requiring fast random IO. And talking about EFS, that is network file system. And talking about EFS, network file system, multiple EC2s mount simultaneously, and it can scale across AZs. It has auto scaling, shared throughput across instances, shared config files, CMS, home directories. It is used for these things. If the scenarios mentioned unlimited scale, static website, data lake, media files, or backup, your answer is S3, that is object storage. If the scenario mentions EC2 boot drive, operating system, relational database, or needs high IOPS, fast random read writes, your answer is EBS. Remember, an EBS volume attached to only one EC2 instance at a time. If the scenario mentions multiple Linux EC2 instances needing the shared access simultaneously, content management systems, or a network file system, your answer is EFS, file storage. Memorize this slide, take a screenshot right now, and you will breeze through at least 4 or 5 scenario questions on the exam. Now it's time to get your hands dirty. I want you to log into AWS console and complete this today's 15-minute lab. First of all, navigate to the S3. You can simply search for S3 from the search bar, open it, and then you can see I have the option to create bucket. Simply click on create bucket, and then you will find I have AWS region selected as Mumbai AP South 1. You can change the region if you want from over here, and bucket type is general purpose. Okay, I will set bucket name something unique. Let me do SBG Pavan. I guess this will be a unique name, hope so. So make sure to enable, make sure you just scroll down, and by default the public access is blocked. Okay, and from here you can see I can enable bucket versioning. That is, let me enable this, and I will let other setting as it is. I will click on create bucket. So what I'm gonna do, as you can see, my bucket SBG Pawan is created successfully. Now what we are gonna do is I am gonna upload a text file in this bucket so that you can understand the versioning file. I will click on upload, and upload here. You can add your files from here. Click on yes. So I have uploaded a file sbg.txt. Let me upload this file. So you can see my file has been uploaded successfully. As I can see here in this files and folder, there is sbg.txt. Now let me do something. Let me change the content of the file and upload it again. Okay, so let me close this. As you can see, I have one object, that is sbg.txt. Now I am again gonna upload another file with the same name with the another content. I clicked on upload, and you can see my file has been uploaded. Let me close this. Now you can see there is a single object in this bucket. Once I click on this bucket, you can click on versions tab, and you can find these two versions. See, this is the previously uploaded one, and this is the current uploaded one. This is not deleted actually. So when I click on this, I can actually see what this contains. It contains hello. This is the old SBG text version. And talking about the new one, let me go to sbg.txt, go to versions, and click on the current version, and you can simply open it. Hello Greg. Alright, so you can see both my versions are stored. I mean, there is a single file, but the versions of both are stored and they are not deleted. Now try deleting the newest one and see how previous version takes over. Now let's try deleting the newest one and see how the previous version takes over. When I click on delete, and I have to type permanently delete over here, and click on delete object, and then let me navigate to this one, and when I click on open, you can see hello. Great. Let me tell you something about this as well. I said as we have a unique URL for each and S3 bucket. Like this one, this is like your own domain, like sbg.pawan.s3. This is unique worldwide. No other person can take over this domain. And as you can see, after this SBG text, we have something like question mark XAMZ algorithm, something like this. What is this? This is the signed URL. We talked about signed URL as well. Let's see I have this link and I directly copy this. You can see access is denied. By default, the access is denied in the S3 bucket. This is what signed URL does. Signed URL actually helps you access your file for a short time. As you can see, AMG credentials, you can find multiple details in this URL, like request date, expiry time, token, security token, and many things. By default, when you click on open, it automatically signs the URL through your account, through your root account. So this is how it works. Now finally, let's see how to set up the lifecycle role. I will go to buckets. I will select the bucket and go to the management tab, and you can see there is configuration for lifecycle. You can create lifecycle role, replication role. I will create a lifecycle role simply, and I can write archive aging objects. You can keep this as anything and apply to all objects in this bucket. So this rule will be applied to all. So what we will do is, you can select any lifecycle role action like transition current version of object between storage classes, or permanently delete non-recurrent version, delete expired object. I will select transition current version of object between storage classes. I will click on I acknowledge. I will click on I acknowledge. I can transition current version of object between storage classes. You can select the storage class transition. Like let's say I selected a standard IA, and I can select number of days. See, you need to set a minimum of 30 days because it is required before transitioning to standard IA. Let me keep it 30 days, and you can simply create a role. Like you can say my role has been created. Now what it will do is, it will move my data to standard IA after 30 days. You can simply create similar roles for transitioning your data to the Glacier after 90 days. Remember, doing this in the actual console will cement these abstract concepts in your brain forever. Don't skip the lab part. So this is how AWS S3 bucket works. And that is a wrap on day 10. You now deeply understand the core of S3. You know that the buckets are globally unique, objects are practically unlimited up to 5 TB each, and you know exactly how to use lifecycle rules and storage classes to balance between speed and cost. For the homework tonight, go to your practice portal and take 10 questions specifically focused on S3. Pay special attention to the scenario question that asks you to pick the right storage classes, or ask you to choose between S3, EBS, or EFS. Tomorrow on day 11, we are going to take a much deeper dive into the block and file storage. We will look at the incredible AWS Snow family, which are literal physical ruggedized briefcases and shipping container that AWS uses to move exabytes of data offline. So keep building. I will see you in day 11. Thank you so much.